Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kittiack Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everyone who's joining this program as we are coming on this evening on Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. And we apologize for coming on so late. We wanted to come on this air this afternoon, but because of Microsoft, we couldn't get on the air soon enough, and we had to do our Sunday school class. Then I took some time for my wife and I to eat dinner and stuff, and now I'm coming on now. So I apologize for that. But I want to tell you what's going on. Right now we have Richard Smith here. We have Kim POSSILE here. Charlie's here. Berlinda Mustafa's here. Catherine Sigurdsson is here. Sleeping Volcano, and many, many others. We appreciate all of you here. We really do. It's Sunday night. It's a time to be with your families. And I apologize for interrupting your family time tonight. We came on the air to give you some quality information about what is going on in Tonga and what is also going on over in Myanmar. As you know, Friday night, Saturday morning, there was a major earthquake in Myanmar, Southeast Asia. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. This morning, 8:28 a.m. this morning, there was a massive 7.0 major earthquake over in Tonga, in the Tonga area. Now, folks, this can be very misleading. This can be very, very misleading. This is where it happened, okay? 7.0 major earthquake off the coast, 43 miles off the coast of Pangai, Tonga. 45 miles southeast of Pangai, Tonga. This was out in the Pacific Ocean. This was very close to land. Very, very close to land. There was no tsunami there. Absolutely no tsunami. Usually we try to look for tsunamis when they're a 6.5 magnitude earthquake or larger. This was a 7.0, and we honestly thought there might be a tsunami, but there was not. Let me give you that information right now. This is the tsunami information as it came out from the National Tsunami Warning Center in Washington, D.C. Actually, Hawaii. This is Hawaii now. This comes out of Hawaii. Tsunami information statement number 1. No Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, Honolulu, Hawaii. No tsunami threat from a distant earthquake. Emergency managers, media, and the general public. This is an evaluation. This is an evaluation. An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.3 occurred in the Tongan Islands at 1:19 a.m. SST on Sunday morning, March 30th, 2025. Some areas may have experienced strong shaking. This was a 7.3. It's been put out by the USBS as a 7.0 major earthquake. Regardless, whether it was a 7.3 or 7.0, it's still a major earthquake. Some areas may have experienced strong shaking. Based on all available data, there is no tsunami threat to American Samoa or anywhere else at this time. No tsunami threat at all. No actions are required. Potential threats, no tsunami impacts are expected. That's for everywhere. 7.3 earthquake, just 45 miles southeast of Pangai, Tonga. We've been talking about this area many, many times. They've had many earthquakes. Before this earthquake happened this past week, I believe we've had 2 5.0 earthquakes here near Pangai, Tonga. Those were foreshocks. Those were foreshocks. Okay? This is a 7.3 earthquake. USGS downgraded the sucker to 7.0. And you can see 3 other large earthquakes there as well. There was a 6.8, a 5.2, and a 5.0. Large earthquakes denoted by the purple spot on the map. The other earthquakes was a 5.0, 4.8, 4.3, and 4.5. Aftershocks. Aftershocks. There were 3 large aftershocks, 2 large aftershocks, and a very strong 6.8 aftershock. Okay? That's what happened. Okay, that's what we have here. Now look at the buoys. I want to show you the buoys in action here. Look at that, nothing. Not one buoy in this area went off. That's why we did not have a tsunami. This is exactly why we did not have a tsunami here. Okay, incredible, incredible. We're very lucky to not have a tsunami here. Now, we have people that have been talking about a volcano going off here. There has been no volcano here in the Tongan Islands. There's been no volcanic eruption here in the Tongan Islands whatsoever. I want to clear that up right now. There's been no tsunami wave, and there's been no volcanic eruption here in the Tongan Islands. Period. None. There's no damage here. Now, giving that information here, I want to show you what else is going on here. Here. This is the seismograph readings that came out. This is just some of them. There's a total of 68 seismographs that reported information here today. 68 seismographs reporting information here today. Guess what? Well, actually, before this, let me back up. This is the back seismologist study page. Okay? It shows a 7.0 earthquake. But look here. Look closely at what I'm having to show you here. Okay? Again, a 7.0 earthquake here. They have one denotation here that says that there was a 7.0 earthquake here. That says that there were 98 stations reporting. 98 stations reporting, no station details contributed. Really? A 7.0 earthquake. They're saying 98 stations reported it, but they're not giving any data. USGS is hiding the information. Okay, I've proven this before on other earthquakes. The United States Geological Survey, we call the USBS, is hiding the information here. One other here. Look here. It says a 7.0 earthquake, 127 stations reporting, 127 stations reporting, and no data. Interesting. But look here. This is the data I was going to show you on the other slide here. It says there are 86 stations reporting and their station details, but it's showing a 6.8 earthquake. USGS on the map is showing a 7.0, and yet this one says 6.8 earthquake. Let's go back to that previous seismogram here. Look at this. Again, they're trying to pass this off as a 6.8 earthquake. Look what we have to show you. 6.95, 6.64, 6.41, 6.11, 6.89, 6.98, 6.72, 6.96, 6.61, 7.23, 7.03, 5.96. They're hiding information, aren't they? They don't want anybody to know what's going on. They don't want anybody to know what's really going on here. Again, they're showing a 7.23 and a 7.03. That's all they're showing. They're showing one or two other 7 magnitude readings here. All the rest of these readings are 5s and 6s. Isn't this interesting? They want to hide the information. They do not want anybody to know exactly what's going on. Now, I just showed you some of this data. I'm just showing you some of this data. But what I am showing you is garbage. Because this agency, again, is hiding information. Now, when I put out the bulletin of earthquake information over on Myanmar yesterday, Had a lot of people question me because I called that earthquake an 8.7. And I proved it. I showed you data to prove it. And yet, these people questioned me. They didn't look at the video. They had no idea what this video said except in the title of the video, where I said it was an 8.7 earthquake. I gave you all the data, and they didn't even bother looking at it. But they bothered commenting on what I had said, only at the title. I told them, go back and look at the video. I gave you all the data. I gave you all the data, and yet they didn't bother looking at it. They questioned the validity of my statement that it was an 8.7 earthquake. Just like I'm going to show you on this. Wait a second, let me show you what I want to show you here. On this one here in Tonga here, 27 felt reports. This is 45 miles offshore, and there are only 27 felt reports. That's interesting. A 7.0, 7.3 earthquake, there's only 27 reports. Fascinating by all stretches of the imagination. It should show a lot more, shouldn't it? It absolutely should. But again, they don't want to give any leeway here. They don't want to show anything here. Now, let me go over to the helioplots. This is exactly where I showed you the data over at the Myanmar quake. Folks, look at this. This is a helioplot in Samoa, right next door to Tonga, several hundred miles west of Tonga. Look at this. This could show a 7.3 earthquake. This is a lot different than the data that I showed you at Myanmar, right? Absolutely. At Myanmar, the helioplots were totally blacked out, almost totally blacked out. Yet this is a 7.0, 7.3 earthquake, just several hundred miles northeast of Niafu, Tonga, Pangai, Tonga area. Okay? Unreal. Let me show you another one here. Let me show you Cathedral Cove, Missouri. I showed you 4 helioplots Saturday from various locations around the world. I'm going to show you that again. This is Cathedral Cove, Missouri. Look at this. And yet this is a 7.0, 7.3 earthquake over in Pangai, Tonga. Let me show you another one. The next one I'm going to show you is over in College Outpost, Alaska. College Outpost, Alaska. One of the same locations where I showed you the helioplot from the Myanmar earthquake. Look at this. The same kind of situation. The helioplot is not blacked out. It's a 7.0, 7.3 earthquake. Okay? 7.0, 7.3 earthquake. Helioplot is not blacked out. Let me go over and show you Norway. Actually, before that, I want to go over to Massachusetts. We showed you the same location on Saturday from the Myanmar quake. This is Massachusetts. Look at that. Same kind of situation. This helioplot is not blacked out, and yet this is a 7.0, 7.3 earthquake. Incredible, isn't it? It absolutely is. Now, the last helioplot I'm going to show you is over in Norway, Spitsbergen, Norway. I like to use it because it's one of the furthest points away from this earthquake. That's why I show it to you. Let me show you Spitsbergen, Norway now. Look at this. A 7.0, 7.3 earthquake in Tonga. And yet I showed you the same kind of helioplot when I showed you Myanmar. 2 completely different earthquakes. This is a 7.0, 7.3. The other one was an 8.7, 9.0 earthquake. An 8.7, 9.0 earthquake. This is completely different. Absolutely completely different. Unreal. Unreal. Let me give you some more information about this. Okay? I want to tell you about it. There's a little bit of a story with it. Just a second here. There's a little bit of a different story here. Okay, again, they're reporting this as a 7.0. I showed you information that it's probably a 7.3. Fair enough? I think so. Let me give you some information here. Since 1900, there have been 15 7.5 plus earthquakes recorded near New Zealand. 9 of these and 4 largest occurred along or near the Macquarie Ridge south of New Zealand, where that 7.5 earthquake was last week. Remember that? We had a 7.5 earthquake south of the South Island of New Zealand, just north of Macquarie Island. The 1989 earthquake, 8.2 event on the Tongan Ridge itself. 1989, an 8.2 earthquake on the Tongan Ridge. And the 2004 8.1, 200 kilometers west of the plate boundary, reflecting interplate deformation. Interplate deformation. Let me go over the USGS map and show you this. You're not going to see the plate areas as I'm going to show you now on the USGS map. I want to show you the earthquake faults here. Take down my smiling face here. Let's take down our EMA banner. Okay? Now, I want to show you this. This is important information to understand what happened over here in Tonga. Okay? This is a 7.0 earthquake in Tonga. This is on the Tonga Ridge here. This is the boundary between the Australian plate and the Pacific plate. Okay? Between the Australian plate and the Pacific plate. This is called the Tonga Ridge. Over further to the west here is the Fiji Ridge here. 2 different plates. 2 different. Let's go over back here to the Tongan Ridge here. This is where we had the earthquake today. This Tongan Ridge goes from over here in the north part of Tonga all the way down here, just along the coast of New Zealand here. This is the North Island of New Zealand. Right here is where the Tongan Ridge comes down. It's the interplate boundary between the Australian plate and the Pacific plate here. In this region, the Pacific plate is subducting under the Australian plate. I explained this the other day when we were talking about the other earthquake south of the South Island of Tonga. South Island, New Zealand, I'm sorry. Here in this area on the east side of the North Island. It is said by the scientists that they expect to have an 8.0 earthquake here off the east side of the North Island here sometime in the next 25 years. Again, note what I'm saying here. Over on this end of New Zealand here, this is where the Pacific plate is subducting under the Australian plate. Further south here, way down here on just south of the South Island of New Zealand, where this other earthquake hit the other day, right here. Right here. Folks, this is a little bit different. The Australian plate here is subducting under the Pacific plate, which means this area up here on the north side of the South Island here, north side of the South Island here, guess what? The plates are twisting here. The plates are twisting here. North of the North Island, the Pacific plate is subducting under the Australian plate. Down here, The Australian plate is subducting under the Pacific plate here, meaning this area here between these two islands are twisting. This area is twisting, which is probably why we had the Christchurch earthquake back here, I believe it was 1980. The Christchurch here in 1980. Massive earthquake here. Now, this is incredible. This is really incredible. Now, I didn't know anything about the Australian plate subducting under the Pacific plate, the Pacific plate subducting under the Australian plate here to the north. I did not know anything about that until I started researching what happened north of the South Island of New Zealand the other day. Again, since 1900, there have been 15 7.5 plus earthquakes recorded near New Zealand. 9 of these, and the 4 largest occurred along or near the Macquarie Island Ridge, south of the South Island, including the 1989 8.2 event on the ridge itself, and the 2004 8.1 event, 200 kilometers to the west of the plate boundary, reflecting interplate deformation. Deformation. The land is moving. The land is moving. The largest earthquake reported in New Zealand itself was 1931. It was a 7.8 earthquake off the North Island of Hawke's Bay. Off the North Island of Hawke's Bay. Right here. That's Hawke's Bay. Just off the North Island of Hawke's Bay. 8.1 earthquake. And now they're saying there's going to be another 8.0 event as well, sometime within the next 25 years. The largest recorded earthquake in New Zealand itself was 1931. 7.8 earthquake, Hawke's Bay earthquake, which killed 256 people. The last 7.5 plus earthquake along the Alpine Fault to the south was 170 years ago. Studies of the fault strain accumulation suggest that similar events are likely to occur again. Similar events are likely to occur again, and that is why scientists are now expecting another 8.0 earthquake off the east side of the North Island. North of New Zealand, the Australian Pacific plate stretches east of Tonga and Fiji, 250 kilometers south of Samoa. 2,200 kilometers, the trench is approximately linear. 2,200 kilometers in length. Includes 2 segments, where old 120 million years older than the Pacific Oceanic lithosphere. Lithosphere is just below the crust of the Earth, which rapidly subducts towards westward Kermadec and Tonga. Westward Kermadec and Tonga. At the northern end of the Tonga Trench, the boundary curves sharply westward. The northern end of the Tonga Trench, up near Samoa, curves sharply westward and changes along a 700 kilometer long segment from trench normal subduction to oblique subduction to left lateral transform-like structure. Now, I know you're not going to understand that, but understand this. The plate boundary curves sharply westward. Let's show you that here on the map. Look at that. That's a plate boundary that curves sharply westward that we're talking about here. Okay? The Australia-Pacific convergent rates increase northward. Understand this. The convergent rates increase northward from 60 millimeters a year at the southern Kermadec Trench to 90 kilometers a year at the northern Tonga Trench. Meaning, the plates move 90 kilometers per year at the north end of the Tongan Trench. Down south towards the Kermadec Islands, it's completely different. That area moves 60 millimeters per year, meaning the north end of the trench moves almost 1/3 as much per year. 1/3 as much per year. Unreal, huh? It absolutely is. Now, folks, we are going to see more earthquakes like this. We're going to see more earthquakes like this. Now, this was a 7.0 to a 7.3 earthquake. Again, USGS is only showing this as a 7.0, but they are admitting it was at least a 7.3. USGS is admitting it was a 7.3, but they're only showing a 7.0 here on the map. They're hiding data. They're hiding data. Again, there are also three other large earthquakes here again. Two 5.0s and a 6.8. Two 5.0s and a 6.8 earthquake. Other aftershocks as well, as you can see here. 4s and 3s. 4s and 3s here in Tonga. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Canada Warrior says, Catherine, we definitely live in a frail world. We surely do. We absolutely surely do. The world is changing even as we see it. The earth is changing as we see it almost on a daily basis. It's moving. It's completely changing our world. Tony's asking, is this near Guam? No, it's not. No, it's not. Let me move this map so I can show you where Guam is. This is way down southeast. Way, way down to the southeast. I'm going to try to find Guam here on the map. There's Guam right there. There's Guam right there. This is further to the northwest here. They're not anywhere close. Not anywhere close here. Guam is up in the Mariana Trench area. Guam is in the Mariana Trench area, and this is way down southeast of there. Right there. Kathy Clark says it's below Tonga's. No, it's not. Guam is way northwest, up in the Mariana Trench. This is nowhere near that. Canada Warrior says the Hunga Pai volcano shook the whole earth. It surely did. Just about 3.5 years ago. That volcano erupted. It was a huge, huge eruption. It went way higher than the stratosphere. Way higher than the stratosphere. The ash from the Hunga Pai volcano erupted over 85,000 feet high. It circled the earth 3 times. The ash from that eruption circled the earth 3 times. Any questions? Don Howard's here. Thank you for being Don. We appreciate you. Tell Gregory I said hi. Don and Gregory Howard are dear friends of ours that continue contributing to this channel over on PayPal. We appreciate that. And by the way, if you want to contribute to this channel, you can do so here on YouTube here on the Super Chat. You can also go over to our video here, right below this video here, in the program, at the top of the program description. You can join this program as a member. There's a link there so you can join this program as a member. Below that, we have our EMA Gmail account. Below that, we have 2 PayPal accounts. We have a Venmo account. or you can help support this channel on our PayPal or Venmo. We'd greatly appreciate it to help keep this program on the air. Any contributions you can have or can spare, we can surely use them to keep this program on the air. Joseph Page says you're doing great. The only thing he would ask is that when you zoom in so close, it is difficult to get a reference of where we're looking at. I'm sorry about that. I'll try to be more careful, Joseph. I appreciate that. And Richard Smith, as he normally does, is showing us earthquakes around the world. We just had another 1.6 tremor over in Spain. But again, USGS is not going to show them. They never do. They never do. When I checked before I came on this program, there was one point something tremor over in Spain that they were showing. They're not showing anything else. They never do. Kathy Clark says, when Tonga went off in New Zealand, we thought a plane had crashed into the house. I totally understand that. I totally get that. That was a huge volcanic eruption. In this case, this was a huge earthquake. A huge earthquake. Don Howard says the clips from Myanmar yesterday were very eye-opening. Well, guess what? I've got more pictures to show you. I have many more slides to show you. I'm going to talk about Myanmar next. Mark says hit that thumbs up button. We appreciate that. Those of you that can, please hit the thumbs up button to give us a like. YouTube uses the like button, the thumbs up button. It also uses the people that watch this channel very closely. It also uses the time that you guys spend here on the channel. If you guys only spend minutes here, it's not even worth watching. It's not even worth watching our channel if you're only here just a few minutes. You need to be watching this channel through to completion, or you're not going to get or understand the information we're going to give you. You need to be here during the entire program. Please stay here for as long as possible. It would only benefit you and your family. Why do I say that? Because we give you this information so you'll have the information necessary to help process what's going on around in your own neck of the woods. We talk about Tonga, we talk about Samoa, we talk about New Zealand because we have viewers there. We have viewers over in Papua New Guinea. We have viewers in Indonesia. We have viewers in Australia. Get that. We have viewers over in Australia. We have viewers over in the Southeast Asia corridor. We have viewers over in Japan as well, and Taiwan. We have viewers around the world. That's why we give you the information we do. Okay? We want everybody to understand what's going on. We appreciate everybody being here. Now, let me go over and talk about Myanmar now. There's a lot of information going on. A ton. Now let's go over to Myanmar and show you the damage that the USGS is saying is going on now. They're not talking about hardly about anything. Look at this. This is over northern Sumatra here. This is a 5.1 earthquake over the north coastal areas of Sumatra. This is 10 kilometers deep. Let's move north over here to Myanmar. Look what they're not showing us. They're not even showing half the earthquakes here. They're not showing even a tenth of the earthquakes here. Over 95 earthquakes here today, and they're showing 2. They're showing this 5.1 earthquake here, 28 kilometers northwest of Mandalay, which is one of the largest cities in Myanmar. 5.1 large earthquake, 10 kilometers deep. Every earthquake here that's hit here in Myanmar since Friday night, Saturday morning, it's been 10 to 14 kilometers deep. Very, very shallow earthquakes. Very, very shallow earthquakes. This is a 5.1 large earthquake, 10 kilometers deep. This earthquake to the north is a 4.3, also 10 kilometers deep. This is near Swibo SHWEBO, Burma, Myanmar. They used to call it Burma, it's called Myanmar now. Okay? 10 kilometers deep. This is not even 1/10 of the earthquakes that have happened, because they're not showing them. They refuse to be honest with us. Earthquakes keep hitting here. They're not going to stop. When we have earthquakes as large as we had this here, again, this was at least an 8.7 major earthquake. This was at least an 8.7 major earthquake. I'm telling you right now, a very deadly large earthquake. It may have been as large as a 9.0. On yesterday's video that we gave you, I showed you then that there was a huge trench that would open up. Miles and miles long trench. It was a deep trench. You only get those deep trenches opening up when we've had a 9.0 earthquake. And that earthquake was at least an 8.7. And USGS is lying about that. Unreal. Unreal. Let me show you some more damage here. You're going to get your minds blown here. It's not the only damage there is. Damage is all over this area. There's 1,664 collapsed buildings. 1,664 collapsed buildings and counting. And counting. Every one of these large earthquakes and even the moderate earthquakes are continuing to damage buildings, and more damage falls with these buildings. This was hit by a major earthquake. All these buildings were hit by a major earthquake, and every earthquake after that damaged the buildings further. And every time we have an earthquake here, more buildings fall because of what's happened over here during the past 36 hours. More and more damage occurs here because of what's happened during the past 36 hours. Right here. This is another building that was damaged, fell down. Look at that huge piece of concrete that they propped up here. The building has fallen down and crushed everything in its place. Crushed everything in its place. Nothing survives. Nothing can survive when something like this happens. Incredible. The death toll at Myanmar has risen to 1,644 people. 1,644 people perished so far. Now, I told you the other day after this earthquake happened, they've been going through a civil war. The military tried to take over Myanmar. The people's resistance have been fighting the military. Right now the military is losing. Right now the military is losing. Now the resistance, a citizen resistance, has called for a partial ceasefire. Unilateral partial ceasefire to facilitate earthquake relief efforts, which was announced on Saturday by Myanmar's shadow National Unity Government, which coordinates popular struggle against the ruling military. The country's death toll disaster has soared to 1,644 people and counting. More and more people are injured as well. The figure was a sharp rise compared to 1,002 people announced just hours earlier, highlighting the difficulty of confirming casualties over a widespread reason. Now, this is not the only death toll. They have a separate death toll in Thailand. This is just a death toll in Myanmar. And the likelihood the numbers will continue to grow from Friday's 8.7 magnitude earthquake. 8.7 magnitude earthquake and counting. Okay? The number of injured people has increased to 3,408. The number of injured people is increased to 3,408 people injured, while the missing figure has risen to 139 missing. The number of dead also rises in Thailand. The quake rocked the greater Bangkok area, home to around 17 million people. And other parts of the Thailand country as well. Many places on the north side of Thailand reported damage. 600 miles south of Myanmar. 600 miles south of the main epicenter of the quake. Damage. Extensive damage and death. Many places in the north reported damage, but only the casualties were reported. In Bangkok, the death toll in Bangkok is 10 people killed in the high-rise building near the famous Chatuchak Market. Chatuchak Market. Yesterday in our video we showed you the Chatuchak Market. It was right across the area from where this building collapsed. We had a gentleman from Canada that was interviewed, and he told that he was about ready to go back to Canada the next day before this earthquake happened. And he was standing in the marketplace just outside the area where this building collapsed. Now, if this building had collapsed yesterday, more people would have been killed. Because if that had happened, and the marketplace is open, it's only open on Saturdays and Sundays. If people in the marketplace had been there would have been more people killed. But because this happened on Friday, fewer people were here. Now, the other people were killed in 7 other sites. Authorities in Bangkok said 83 people were unaccounted for. Authorities in Bangkok said 83 people were unaccounted for. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. 83 people unaccounted for here, 123 over in Myanmar. 10 people killed here and 1,644 people killed in Myanmar. Completely different. That's because the epicenter was in Myanmar. And this was felt 600 miles south of there. 600 miles south of there. On Saturday, more heavy equipment was brought in to move tons of rubble, but hope was fading among friends and relatives. One man said he was praying that they had survived, but when he got there and saw the ruins, where could they be? Norinmoy Tonglek sobbed as she was waiting news about her partner, who's from Myanmar, and 5 friends who worked at the site. In Myanmar, rescue efforts so far are focused on the major stricken cities of Mandalay and Naypyidaw. Naypyidaw is the capital of Myanmar. Mandalay is the country's number 2 city. Naypyidaw is the capital. But even though teams and equipment have been flown in from other nations, including the United States, they've been hindered by damage to the airports. Satellite photos from Planet Labs PBC, analyzed by the Associated Press, show that the earthquake toppled the air traffic control tower at Napapa International Airport. The control tower was sheared off its base. The control tower was sheared off its foundation by this major 8.7 earthquake. Major 8.7 earthquake. And it's not immediately clear if there have been any casualties from its collapse. So far, they've not located any air traffic controllers that were in that tower. Incredible, huh? It absolutely is. It absolutely is. This is a picture of workers going into the building in Thailand, trying to ascertain if they hear of anybody yelling or any tapping on the girders here, or somebody might have been in an air pocket and they could still tap because they were alive, wanting to make sure somebody could hear them. Now, as I said, Myanmar has been in a civil war. It's been an obstacle at this point in time. A major complication in this civil war is this earthquake. The civil war has been going on for years. The quake affected area is just a small part of it. In 2021, the military seized power from the elected government, sparking a huge war that since turned into a significant armed resistance. Government forces have lost control of much of Myanmar, and many places are incredibly dangerous or slightly impossible for even aid groups to reach. More than 3 million people have been displaced by the fighting, and nearly 20 million are in need. 20 million people are in need according to the United Nations. The interplay of politics and disaster was demonstrated Saturday night when Myanmar's Shadow National Unity government announced a partial ceasefire to facilitate earthquake relief efforts. Unreal, guys. Unreal. Now, I knew there was a civil war because China has also been trying to gain power over Myanmar. We knew that. We knew that. But it's ongoing, guys. It's ongoing. As I said before in that video, we showed you a huge road that had been damaged. Huge road had been damaged. Across the entire road, one side of the road had collapsed about 18 inches. You see here damage. A lot of damage. Huge fissures erupted in the roadways here. They erupted in the roadways. No one can even pass over these fissures that have opened up in the road. Nobody can get by. Here's a slide where somebody was taken from a building that had collapsed and put into the back of one of their ambulances to take to one of their makeshift hospitals. This is one of the area's makeshift hospitals. The military government general is standing just outside the military hospital where people are lying there that have been injured by this earthquake. The armed wing of the People's Defense Force will implement a 2-week pause in offensive military operations starting today in the earthquake-affected areas. They said it would also collaborate with the United Nations and the international non-governmental organizations to ensure security, transportation, and the establishment of a temporary rescue and medical camps. They're trying to establish security, transportation, and the establishment of temporary rescue and medical camps in the areas that it controls. The resistance organization said that it reserved the right to fight back if defense and attacked. They reserved the right to fight back in defense if attacked. Extensive damage in the cities. Earthquake struck midday Friday there in Myanmar, with an epicenter not far from Mandalay, followed by many aftershocks, hundreds of aftershocks, including one 6.4 very strong earthquake that sent buildings in many areas toppling to the ground. Buckled roads caused bridges to collapse. One of the most famous bridges that was built in 1910 collapsed, completely cutting off part of the country from another part. In Napata, crews worked Saturday to repair damaged roads, while electricity and phone and internet services remained down for most of the city. The earthquake brought down many buildings, including multiple units that housed government civil servants. But that section of the city was blocked off by authorities on Saturday. An initial report on earthquake relief efforts, issued Saturday by the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, said that it is allocating $5 million from a Central Emergency Response Fund for life-saving assistance. The immediate planned measures include a convoy of 17 cargo trucks carrying critical shelter and medical supplies from China that is expected to arrive on Sunday. It's noted that there is severe damage or destruction on many health facilities. They warn of a severe shortage of medical supplies that's hampering response efforts, including trauma kits, blood bags, and anesthetics, breathing assisting devices, essential medicines and tents for healthcare workers. All this is needed. Now, the United States and other nations are also trying to get in assistance supplies and people to assist with rescue efforts and to assist with medical response efforts as well. Doctors Beyond Borders. Doctors Beyond Borders also there. So far, none of their crews have been hurt or killed by this earthquake. Do you have any questions for us? Do you have any questions for us? Catherine Sigurdsson says, how many earthquakes have they had? They've had hundreds. They have had hundreds of aftershocks. It's just not 10, 20, 30, 60. It's hundreds. This was a powerful, major earthquake. This was a powerful, major earthquake. It was stronger than the 7.7 that the BS said that was. Very much stronger. I proved that yesterday. I showed all of you data yesterday. Don is asking, Ron, in an earthquake situation, how much warning is there to get to a safer spot? Almost none. Almost none. Why do I say that? Because even in the areas of Los Angeles, San Francisco, Santa Barbara, and San Diego, earthquake warning assistance is only 1 or 2 seconds before the earthquake happens. Earthquake warning is only 1 to 2 seconds before the earthquake happens. No warning. Literally no warning. The science has not gotten to the point to give much of any kind of warning. I just have to be true with this. Yes, I would like to say it would be minutes, if not hours. That's not the case. Hopefully it will be soon, but I doubt it. From the clips yesterday, it looks like there's no warning basically at all. You're absolutely right. Everybody that I've talked to that's over there said there was no warning at all. No warning at all. All of a sudden it started shaking, and the shaking got worse immediately. That's all the warning those poor people got. It's a terrible state of affairs. It really is. It's a very terrible state of affairs. No one knows tomorrow what it's going to look like. No one even knows tomorrow what it's going to look like. They have no warning. They have no warning. They're working with very little. They are working with very little to go on. Nothing. Arnold Smith says he's surprised that Donald Trump didn't blame Canada for this. There's no way that Canada wouldn't be to blame. Not at all. Canada had nothing to do with this. Tonga had nothing to do with this. New Zealand had nothing to do with this. Now, where is it going? Where is this seismic energy going? As I said before, let me take down this photograph here, this slide. Let's go back to the USGS map. This is the earthquake here. This is where that earthquake happened. This is Myanmar. Notice where it is. This is just north of the India border, isn't it? It's on the earthquake fault. It's on the edge of the plate there. The edge of the plate, you see, runs out of the Indian Ocean and runs north. Runs out of the Indian Ocean from west of Sumatra, Indonesia. Goes up here into Thailand and Myanmar. Then it runs north over here to the Himalaya Mountains. I fully expect something to happen here in the Himalaya Mountains sometime within the next 5 to 7 days. I expect to see at least a 6.2, 6.5 earthquake here in the Himalaya mountain range here, Nepal or India. within the next 6 to 7 days. After that, that same plate goes over here to Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and Kazakhstan. I fully expect seismic energy to reach here as well, causing major damage. We've seen it happen before. From there, some part of that plate goes down here to the south of Iran. And you can see the plate here. This mountain range in the southern part of Iran. There's also a mountain range that extends from Afghanistan almost straight west over here to the Caspian Sea. You can see the mountain range here. Okay, it extends over here to the Caspian Sea, and then it goes over here into the Syria border region with Turkey. This is where I hate to even think about what might happen here. 2 years ago, February 3rd, 2023, we had a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that struck here. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to happen again, but what I am saying is some part of this energy here, whether it be a 7.0 or a 6.0 earthquake, happens here sometime within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Then, that energy can go through the north part of Turkey or the southern part of Turkey, or both. We could have large to moderate earthquakes here in Turkey. Okay? Look here. They're not even showing all the earthquakes happen here in the Aegean Sea. There's over a dozen earthquakes here in the Aegean Sea right here. Why? There's volcanic action here. There's magma beneath the surface here. Today, over a dozen earthquakes have happened because there's magma moving beneath the surface. We are expecting a possible volcanic eruption here in the Aegean Sea. Now, it could happen down here in Santorini. It could happen up here in near Amorgos Island or on Amorgos Island. It could happen anywhere here in the Aegean Sea right here, because this is where all the earthquakes are, right in this area. There is magma on the move here, and I fully expect to see something probably within the next month. If nothing happens, these people may be out of the woods. They may be out of the woods. Over here in Greece, there's 16 earthquakes here in Greece today. USGS is showing one over here off the western coast of Greece. This is a 4.2 moderate earthquake here, near Lithuania, Greece. This is 34 kilometers deep. Unreal, huh? It absolutely is. Richard Smith is still there. Yes, we're still here. Richard's reporting a 2.0 earthquake in Turkey with a depth of 8 kilometers deep. Not surprising. It's too darn bad that USGS is not showing the earthquakes over in Turkey. Not showing a single one. Just like they're not showing anything in Greece either, or over in the Aegean Sea. Not a thing. Not a cotton-picking thing. It's sad. It's very sad. Now, that same earthquake fault that runs out of Turkey-Syria border region, it goes underneath Crete here. It goes south of Crete here. It goes up here on the west side of Greece here, where you see this earthquake here. Then it goes over here in southern Italy. There are earthquakes here in southern Italy. Earthquakes up here in central Italy. But, guess what? We also have a slew of earthquakes down here. Right here. More earthquakes here. Why? Because we have a volcano here. And that volcano looks like it's getting ready to erupt. We're still getting hit with lots of earthquakes. Right here. And I fully expect it to continue. I fully expect this to continue right there. This is a huge urban area. This is a huge urban area, guys. There's probably 1.2 million people that live in this area. Let me zoom in here. Let's show you some of the buildings and homes in this area. Look at that. This is an extreme urban area, and yet we have a volcano over here. And some parts of this area have been evacuated. Some parts of this region have been evacuated. But almost too little too late. Because if this volcano erupts, the people that have not left here are going to be in a lot of trouble. Okay? That's what's happening here. USPS is not showing any earthquakes here in the Alps Mountains. There are tremors here. But they're not showing them here. There's some tremors over in France. They're not showing those either. They're not showing any earthquakes in Spain. There are. They're not showing any earthquakes here in the Azores Islands, just south of Portugal and Spain here. There are some tremors. There are some small earthquakes here. Okay? Now I want to go down here to La Palma Island here in the Canary Islands. Right down here. Over here on the southwest side of La Palma Island. Right about here. Los Llanos. There's a 1.7 tremor here. Now, when that volcano erupted here 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, we were covering it. We were talking to scientists here and politicians here in the Canary Islands. We even talked to the governor of Spain. We talked to the governor of Spain live here on the air. Now, that volcano is called the Cumbre Vieja volcano. The Cumbre Vieja volcano is right there. Okay? The volcano erupted further to the south here. Erupted right over here. Okay? You can see eruptive vents here, craters where it erupted from. Now you can see lava movement out here towards the sea. These dark areas where lava poured out of the volcano all the way out here to the sea. This is Los Llanos here. 1.7 tremor here today on La Palma Island. Now, do I believe there's going to be another eruption of Cumbre Vieja volcano anytime soon? No. But I do believe what's going on is the ground is trying to recover from the volcanic eruption here several years ago. That's what's going on here at La Palma Island. Okay? Let's briefly go up here to Iceland. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Iceland. There's quite a few quite a few earthquakes happening up here in Iceland. Okay? Quite a few earthquakes here. USGS is not showing any of them. All of the earthquakes here are in the Reykjanes Peninsula here. All the earthquakes here are in the Reykjanes Peninsula. But they're nowhere near populated areas. They're nowhere near populated areas. I want to make that clear. No one's in any kind of danger here. We do have a town right here called Grindavik. Quite a few years ago, seismic activity started over here in the far south end of Reykjanes Peninsula right here. Then we had a volcanic eruption right here. Since then, we've had more and more seismic activity. We've had more and more volcanic eruptions up here in the Reykjanes Peninsula. Now, what happened here near Grindavik? There were earthquakes here. Fissures erupted here in Grindavik. Huge, deep fissures opened up here in Grindavik. They tore apart roads here in Grindavik. Why? Because there's earthquakes here. There had been earthquakes here. Fissures opened up here in the roads, tore apart some homes and various buildings here in Grindavik. Since then, they've only had a small number of fissures, and they've been very light fissures at that. But there's been no major seismic activity. What seismic activity that has occurred has been volcanic down beneath the surface. Just recently, scientists feared that there was magma brewing underneath Grindavik. Yes, they'd had some earthquakes. They thought Grindavik might erupt here. So they had people that were, again, moved back into Grindavik. They since mostly evacuated Grindavik. Now, notice here in the harbor area, they have fish processing plants here. Every morning, the fishing boats go out to hunt fish. They capture fish here and bring them over here to the processing plants here in Grindavik. People are still living here and working here. The fish processed here in Grindavik go out through the greater population of Iceland. That's what happens here. Now, last year, seismic activity happened here. Why? Because there's magma down beneath the surface that was pounding on bedrock, forcing its way through bedrock. And as a result, fissures of magma raced out here. Lava poured out on the landscape. Right here near Grindavik, there were two fissures that erupted. One opened up one day and another the next day. That fissure opened up right here. That fissure poured out lava over here to Grindavik. 4 homes were totally destroyed here in Grindavik from that lava eruption. Since then, we've had more fissures erupting. More fissures erupting here. Even further north here. What is happening further north here? Folks, we have many things happening. We've talked about it. We've told you about what's going on. Now, right here beneath these clouds, this is Svartsengi. There is a geothermal power plant where men have drilled into the upper magma chambers of the volcano to obtain steam to power turbines to generate electricity for all of Iceland. These drill points also provide ground-heated water to the residents of Grindavik. Ground-heated water and also water-provided heaters to people's homes. Hot water is hot enough to generate home heating throughout Iceland. Besides that, down here beneath these clouds also is a lagoon called the Blue Lagoon Spa. Several thousand people a day frequent this spa. There's quite a few hotels here and restaurants as well at the Blue Lagoon Spa. Now, last year, there were several times that the fissures opened up north of Svartsengi here, and lava poured out and went southwest over here to the Blue Lagoon and also to the Svartsengi power plant. Crews build up huge earthen walls. Here. Earthen walls to protect the Svartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon. Those earthen walls in some places are as high as 100 feet high. When these lava eruptions have happened, lava is poured out on the landscape. The newer lava is also piled on top of the older lava. And at some point during this last eruption, back in the beginning of March, the lava poured out of the fissures and it almost went over the top of the earthen wall. Some lava went underneath the older lava, and it also penetrated the bottom of the wall. Crews have also repaired that leak there. Hopefully they don't believe it's going to happen again. That's here at Svartsengi. Also, something else you need to know if you haven't heard it already. I reported on here. Underneath the Svartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon Spa is a great big huge magma chamber. A great big huge reservoir here. That reservoir is growing every day. The ground is rising where the Svartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon Spa are. The ground is rising, which means the magma underneath it is moving and it's rising up. Now you might ask, do we think that there could be a volcanic eruption at Svartsengi? The answer is yes. Absolutely yes, it could happen. Now, we believe that it probably won't. We believe that it probably won't. Presently, lava movements move north up here. They are having earthquakes up here. These earthquakes are caused by magma beneath the surface. As this magma moves beneath the surface and moves north, the further north it gets, the better. Why do I say that? Because if it erupts again, or I should say when it erupts again, the further north the better, away from the populated areas. Away from the populated areas, and even away from the Svartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon Spa. That's long and short of it. That's long and short of it. Does anybody have any questions about what I just told you? I know you guys are all talking about, especially Richard, showing you the earthquakes are happening. Indonesia is a hot spot. Indonesia is a huge hot spot. Okay? But again, I believe there may be another eruption here in Iceland's future. Now, what else is going on? What else is going on here in Iceland? We talked about it before. We talked about it before almost on every program that we have. The Mid-Atlantic Fault. The Mid-Atlantic Fault further south, all the way to the Antarctic Ridge. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is moving right here in the North Mid-Atlantic today. Right here. We have a 4.6 earthquake. A 4.6 earthquake here. This is a moderate earthquake, 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. The problem is this. Let me further point out here. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is pushing Europe and Africa in an easterly direction. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is also pushing Greenland, Canada, and the United States, the entire North American plate, in a south-southwesterly direction, which is causing earthquakes here in Canada, earthquakes here in America, the United States, earthquakes over here in Puerto Rico, U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and northern Mexico as well. And it's causing earthquakes on the Pneumatic Fault. It's actually putting pressure on the Mid-Atlantic Fault, and the Mid-Atlantic Fault is getting squished. That's why we have earthquakes here on the Mid-Atlantic Fault. Okay? We showed you this last week, and it's continuing. It's not let up. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is putting pressure on the east coast of the U.S. and Canada. That's what's happening. Do any of you have any questions about anything we talked about? Jamie Wilkes says, it feels like we're on a boat rocking here in Seattle, Washington. You're right, it is. It is. And you folks in Seattle and Oregon are not even being told anything. Nothing. Nothing. Jamie says we've been feeling tremors over here in Seattle right now. Absolutely, there are. There are. But USBS is not talking about it. That's a sad point of affairs. The United States Geological Survey is not even talking about it. Look here. Just off the coast of Oregon here. This is the Blanco Fracture Zone right here. This is the northern Blanco Fracture Zone. Today, we have a 3.4 small earthquake here. This is probably 263 kilometers west of the coast of Oregon. Another earthquake here just in the center between the Gorda Ridge and the Cascadia Subduction Zone. Two earthquakes here. This is a 2.7 minor earthquake off the coast of Port Orford, Oregon. This one to the south. This is also 2.7. This is 119 kilometers west of Pistol River, Oregon. We have two earthquakes here in the Cascadia Subduction Zone region. One earthquake over here on the northern part of the Blanco fracture zone off the coast of Oregon here. We have another earthquake over here in the southern part of the Cascadia subduction zone here, Rio Dell, California. This is a 1.8 tremor here. 1.8 tremor here. Why are we having earthquakes here? Jamie Wilkes says, do you think the big one's coming very soon? Yes. Sometime within the next 5 years, I believe we're going to have the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. Right now it's over 234 years overdue. Actually, it's 34 years overdue presently. It's 234 years past due. Past due. Okay? Richard says he definitely wouldn't want to visit the Space Needle. I wouldn't either. There's no way in heck that I would pay to go up there or eat at the restaurant. No way in heck. No way in heck. Now, is there likely something to happen there very soon? It could happen. We've seen 5.9, we've seen 6.5 earthquakes happen here in the Seattle-Tacoma area. Recently. We can see more of those happen. We can see a lot of those happen. The USGS is not talking about all the earthquakes over here off the coastline or in the islands here of Vancouver Island or Washington State. Friday Harbor, Washington had a 5.0 here 2 weeks ago. They talked about it that day and then did not talk about any of the aftershocks from that quake. One of our viewers here, I don't know whether she wants me to name her name, but I want to talk about it now. I'll just tell you what happened. She sent me a note. Then we talked on the phone. She called me, scared out of her mind. Her house rocked severely. It was a 5.0 large earthquake. She said it felt like a truck hit her house, knocking it off its foundation. Large earthquake. And USGS barely talked about it at all. Every day I show you earthquakes up here in this region that USGS does not even talk about. Even on the tremor map, the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network tremor map doesn't even come close to showing you all the seismic activity here. Sometimes they'll show 50, sometimes they won't show any tremors at all. But I can guarantee you there are hundreds and hundreds of tremors here. I want to say 600 to 1,000 tremors here every day. Every day. And yes, we have 3.0, 3.5, and 4.0 moderate earthquakes here every day. And yes, you're feeling pressure today. You're feeling some of those earthquakes today. It's happening. But the agency won't tell you about it. And the rest is even history. Because the news media there won't even talk about it. Rarely do they ever talk about it. Because they're told by the agencies not to speak about it. Only to speak about it when they authorize the news media to talk about it. I believe that. I've seen it. Jamie, I feel sorry for all you people. I feel very sorry for you people. I wish I could help. The most I can do is for everybody that lives in this area to tune into this channel. Because this is the only channel that talks about it. This is the only channel that talks about these earthquakes on a weekly basis. When there's anything more to talk about during the week besides that, we do. We talk about it. But at least once or twice during the week, we talk about the earthquakes here in the Pacific Northwest. That's because you are about to get hit. You are about to get hit. Catherine Sigurdsson says the underwater volcano on the west coast is expected to erupt by the end of 2025. It could happen. It could happen. This underwater volcano is out here off the coast. Now, I don't expect it to erupt outside of the water. I believe it would be an underwater volcano eruption with the lava spreading along the ocean floor. That's what I expect. And yes, with that earthquake or that volcano happening, there will be earthquakes here as well. I expect that. Barbie Little's here. Happy day, Barbie. Good to see you. Renee Steffi's asking about an update on Mount Spur. Let me check my email real quick. I didn't check it earlier today. Let me check that right now. Let's see here. Hold on a second. Internet must be running slow because I'm not getting any response from my email provider here. Let me see if I can get any other response here. Hold on a second. According to the Alaska News Source, background and science behind Mount Spur and what you should know. Alaska is home to more than 140 volcanoes. Nearly 100 of those are active, including Mount Spur. Mount Spur is just over 75 miles west of Anchorage. We've been looking at Mount Spur for several weeks now. Ever since the Alaska Volcano Observatory said that there is a chance that Mount Spur could erupt, and it can. There is a chance. Now, let's look at what the true threats are, what we need to be concerned about, and some things we shouldn't do. From the history of the science, these are going to be practical tips that you can follow. Okay? Let's go here and take a look. Let's look here. The Alaska Zoo is also laying out an animal care plan just in case there is an eruption at Mount Spur. So even the Alaska Zoo in Anchorage is taking a serious look at what could happen even to the animals. The animals would be brought into their care enclosures and not be allowed outside during an eruption. They would be carefully monitored and protected to make sure they would not be inhaling large amounts of soot or if anything at all. At all. Not going to be allowed to have that. Okay? Now, let me look here. second
For the
here.
ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now, and the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust.
Under cloud cover, but just over 75 miles to our west. Now, over the next 30 minutes, we're going to take a deep dive into the science of Mount Spur and the chances that it will erupt again. We'll look at what we've learned from past eruptions and the new tools we have to better predict the next one. We'll explain what the threats really are and if you need to be concerned with things like protecting your car and taping your windows. We also want you to know that we're taking this seriously, but not trying to induce panic or make it more than it is.
You know, we move towards a place where an eruption is more likely.
A Mount Spur eruption likely in weeks to months. We've seen this before.
Just seeing it was like, oh my gosh, this is a big eruption.
Scientists sharing what they know and why now is the time to get ready.
We've been taking the ready, set, go approach that we use for wildfire.
Alaskans doing what we do best.
It's just part of living in Alaska and traveling anywhere. And if volcano erupts, we'll make different plans and adapt like we always do in Alaska.
Helping you prepare now on Volcano Watch.
Often when we hear volcanic eruption, we think of this. This is Mount Kilauea in Hawaii in early March. There's lava spewing everywhere, rivers of molten rock flowing toward the ocean. That's not what this Alaskan volcano will look like during an eruption.
Stranger,
The main
because we have
hazard with an
professional grade
eruption from
supplies
Mount
for
Spur
everyone.
will be ash, volcanic ash. It's not lava, but it does.
Hold on a second. Let me show you this. I finally got through to the video here. Hold on.
Alaska is home to more than 140 volcanoes, and nearly 100 of those are.
We're not a traditional classroom setting where you read the text.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to stop this. I thought I'd be able to stop this advertisement. It doesn't look like it's going to let me though.
Are active, including Mount Spur right here in our backyard, often under cloud cover, but just over 75 miles to our west. Now, over the next 30 minutes, we're going to take a deep dive into the science of Mount Spur and the chances that it will erupt again. We'll look at what we've learned from past eruptions and the new tools we have to better predict the next one. We'll explain what the threats really are and if you need to be concerned with things like protecting your car and taping your windows. We also want you to know that we're taking this seriously, but not trying to induce panic or make it more than it is.
You know, we move towards a place where an eruption is more likely.
A Mount Spur eruption likely in weeks to months. We've seen this before.
just seeing it was like, oh my gosh, this is a big eruption.
Scientists sharing what they know and why now is the time to get ready.
We've been taking the ready, set, go approach that we use for wildfire.
Alaskans doing what we do best.
It's just part of living in Alaska and traveling anywhere. And if volcano erupts, we'll make different plans and adapt like we always do in Alaska.
Helping you prepare now on Volcano Watch.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to this in the top of our program description so you can follow this and watch it. I'm not going to play it because it's over a half hour long, but I'm going to put a link to this in the top of our program description. Those of you that want to watch it can. There's a lot of good information here. I've reviewed this before. Okay, so I know there's a lot of good stuff in it. Volcanic eruption proof yourself, and volcano proof your home and your car and your business. They talk about it all. Okay? Now, Carolyn Martin is asking about what's the latest on the hail and the storm winds in Texas. The winds are still blowing. Okay, 45 to 55 miles an hour, still blowing. Yes, there has been some hail and the possibility of tornadoes in that area. It's still ongoing. It's going to be ongoing for a while now. That storm system has left the west coast and is now going east. By the middle to end of next week, we're going to see it here on the East Coast. Tomorrow, here on the East Coast, we're going to see a storm system move in here to North and South Carolina. The storm system will bring hail, it'll be bringing strong winds and rain to the Carolinas and into Western Virginia. Okay, it's going to happen. Or Eastern Virginia, I shouldn't say Western, Eastern Virginia. It's going to happen. We're going to see rain here on the East Coast, a lot of rain. A lot of rain, and the possibility of tornadoes. There is a good possibility of very strong thunderstorms. So all of you need to brace for that as well. Okay? Richard Smith is now reporting a 1.6 tremor in France. Not surprising, it's only 6 kilometers deep. That's typical. That's typical. Any other questions here? Carol Martin, thank you for that question. That's very much appreciated. Any questions? James is asking how I've been. I've been okay. Things could be worse. I'm not going to complain right now. Carol and I have a pretty good life here. Any questions? I don't see any more questions here, but I appreciate all of you guys here. Folks, I'm going to end this here because there's no questions and I don't want to take this any longer. It's already 10 p.m. on the East Coast. I don't want to keep you here all night. But folks, we appreciate you being here. The reason we came in here tonight is to talk about what happened in Tonga. Right now, there are no reports of injuries or a tsunami in Tonga. That earthquake was felt by at least 27 people over in Pangai, Tonga. Earthquakes continue hitting over in Myanmar. Those earthquakes are going to be hitting for a very long time. I would dare say that we're going to see earthquakes, moderate, small, and minor earthquakes there for at least 2 to 3 years. We're already seeing earthquakes still happening, aftershocks over in the Tonga-Siri border region. That earthquake was a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake, and I believe that's exactly what this was as well. At least an 8.7 earthquake that we reported. And I have given you the information about that earthquake. I gave you all the information about the Tonga earthquake, and I compared that data with both earthquakes here, so you can tell the difference. I ask everyone to be safe, and I ask God to bless you. This is Sunday. This is Sunday. Brothers and sisters, I want you to know I love you. I want you to know the Lord loves you and wants to protect you. The Lord wants to bless you. Read the scriptures. Read the scriptures, read the scriptures, read the scriptures, and pray. We need our help. We need the Lord's help for us. We need the Lord's help for our nations. We need the Lord's help with everything. Now, given that all, I also believe that the Lord's second coming is very near. I believe the Lord's second coming is very, very near. We need to prepare for it. We need to also make sure we're praying, asking for the Lord's Spirit to bless us. We need that. We need that more than ever before. We need the Lord to help bless our families and bring our children close to us and closer to the Lord. Please do that. Please do that, guys. I love and appreciate you all very much. Stay close to the Lord, folks. Please stay close to the Lord. Before we leave, please give us a thumbs up if you appreciate where our program is going. Also, folks, if you can, please give us a donation to our PayPal and or our Venmo. And even send us a letter or a card and stick in a donation to our location here in Morganton. The address here is 504 Bethel Road, Box 401. Morganton, North Carolina, and zip code here is 28655. God be with you. God bless you. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Have a good night, everybody. Much love. See you soon. God bless.